You. You're the person the world needs. Life is changing, and the future is uncertain. You may not know how or why yet, but you know you're here to make a difference. You're not waiting for the universe to give you the answers. You're finding them for yourself. Challenging echoes with evidence. Few people have great ideas. Even fewer make them happen. It takes a dreamer, an explorer, a researcher, a leader, a thinker. It takes someone like you.
Hi, welcome to UNSW. My name's Hannah and I work here at UNSW in the Future Students team. We'd like to welcome you tonight to our Year 12 Degrees and Scholarships Information Evening, and we hope that you get a lot out of the next about an hour of time with us. Before we kick things off, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm coming to you from, the Bedegal people, who are the traditional custodians of our UNSW Kensington campus. I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and also extend my respect to the elders and traditional custodians of the land on which you're coming to us from. Now, I know that we have people tuning in from all across New South Wales, all across Australia, in fact, tonight, and I'd really like to welcome you. Like I mentioned, I'm coming to you live from UNSW, and we can't wait to see you all on campus very shortly. This evening, we've got a really great lineup for you tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about our different faculties at UNSW, some of our programs. I'm also going to be joined by some of my colleagues from the University's Admissions Centre, or UAC, and also our UNSW Gateway program. And you're also going to hear from some real-life UNSW students. So let's get into it. Before we start hearing from some of our special guests, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about UNSW and what we bring to you as a university. We're ranked 43rd globally, so we're one of the top 50 universities worldwide. What this means for you is that you can be assured that your UNSW degree will be recognised by employers and industry connections in Australia, but also across the world. We've also got some of Australia's most employable graduates, and we've educated 4 out of the top 10 young rich listers here in Australia. When you come to UNSW, you'll be able to be a part of over 300 student-led clubs and societies, and also, when the time's right, visit one of our 300 exchange partners who are located on every continent across the world. Yes, that's right, even Antarctica. At UNSW, we're really proud of our world-leading research, and this means that you'll be taught by academics who are experts in their field. Okay, so tonight's all about talking about university and also helping you guys through some of the jargon that we use. And one of the first words that I think is a bit unique to universities is faculties. So here at UNSW, we have 6 faculties. Faculties are essentially a grouping of study areas. So you have faculties like our Faculty of Arts, Design and Architecture, which is our newest faculty, and it offers a really wide range of programs and study areas, letting you really explore your passions. So you can study degrees such as architecture, arts, media, design, fine arts, and any of the subject areas that make up the arts, such as philosophy, politics, and international relations. The next faculty is the UNSW Business School, and this is the faculty that you can study in if you want to study anything to do with business. So things like our Bachelor of Commerce, which has been newly redesigned and includes guaranteed work integrated learning for you. You can also study our Bachelor of Economics, Bachelor of Information Systems, or Bachelor of Actuarial Studies. We have our Faculty of Engineering, which is actually the #1 engineering faculty in the whole of Australia and covers our engineering degrees with majors in civil engineering, electrical engineering, mining engineering, and also our computer science degrees and food science degrees. The next faculty is our Faculty of Law and Justice, which is celebrating its 50th year this year. We're really proud of our Faculty of Law and Justice and our ethos of justice for all and doing social good. In this faculty, you can study things like our Bachelor of Laws, which is a double degree, and also our Bachelor of Criminology and Criminal Justice. A quick note for those of you on the line that are interested in studying our Bachelor of Laws at UNSW. I'm sure you've all already done this, but if you are intending to come to UNSW to study law, you do have to sit the Law Admissions Test or the LAT. Registrations to sit the LAT are open now and will be closing in early September, so do make sure you get your registration in to sit the LAT. We also have our Faculty of Medicine and Health, so if we've got anyone on the line who is ready to find the cure to cancer or to help treat any COVID patients, this is the faculty for you. As well as our Bachelor of Medicine, you can also study things like optometry and exercise physiology in this faculty. We also have our Faculty of Science. So similar to Arts, Design and Architecture, this faculty has a really wide range of study options. You can study our Bachelor of Science, where you can major in things like biomed, you can major in biology or chemistry, and you can also study some of our other scientific areas, such as aviation and flying. The final faculty that I'm going to talk to you about tonight is UNSW Canberra. UNSW Canberra is our association with ADFA and is where you can study things like cybersecurity, business, and all defence-related courses. That's it from me for now, and I'm going to hand you over to my colleague Trudy from the University's Admissions Centre, or UAC, to talk to you a little bit about how to apply to UNSW.
Good evening and welcome. My name's Trudy Nolan and I'm from the University's Admissions Centre, or UAC. For those of you out there who are not familiar with UAC, who are we? Well, we are a centralised office that looks after applications for 27 different universities, including, of course, UNSW. We also administer applications for our access schemes, which I'll talk about in a moment. But the one thing that we are most known for is the fact that we do calculate all New South Wales HSC students' ATAR. Now, we're not talking about the ATAR this evening, but what I do want to say to you as a student is, please don't worry about that. The thing that you should be concentrating on the most is, of course, how well you're going to do in your studies and getting the best marks possible, and everything else will look after itself. So let's talk about applying to university through UAC. Of course, UAC has a timeline of events or dates that students must look out for. For students in New South Wales, of course, applications have already opened, and they opened on the 1st of April. Also, for those students in ACT, you can certainly apply now as well. For most of our interstate students who are tuning in, you will have to wait until the 1st of August. Now, if you're applying for what we call the Schools Recommendation Schemes, or SRS, the closing date for that particular application is the 19th of September, so that's a date to remember. Then we have the 30th of September. That is what we call early bird close. And what does that mean? It actually means that if you apply after this time, you are paying a higher fee to lodge that application. So we would urge all Year 12 students to have their application in no later than the 30th of September. But remember, if you're applying for SRS, 19th of September. The next important dates will be November. This is when we start giving offers for early entry for our SRS scheme, and that will happen on the 12th of November. If you're applying for educational access, then the 22nd of November, of course, is a date you need to remember because we need all your documents in by then. And of course, December is when the ATAR will be released, and then offers will be made based on your ATAR. So that's the timeline of the dates. You will find this information, of course, on the UAC website. So let's quickly talk about applying to university. There's 4 steps to it: prepare, apply, manage and accept. Of course, the first one, prepare, I'm hoping that most Year 12 students have done. However, we know with COVID it was a little bit difficult to do some of that on-campus research. And of course, UNSW's Open Day will be coming up in September, and I would urge you all to come and have a look at this fantastic facility, because it's really good to be able to find out about what they have on offer for you as a student. Of course, whilst you're here, you also need to have a look at all course possibilities, because what happens if you don't get into the course that you really want? What other courses are there for you to, head you in the right direction? And of course, you'll have lots of people here to talk to help you with those decisions. Of course, other parts of preparing is, of course, checking for any additional selection criteria, such as medicine, who has the UCAT. Which of course has closed at this stage, but if you're doing that UCAT test, you need to keep on top of anything else that needs to be done. Of course, all students going into tertiary education these days also have to have what we call a USI, a unique student identifier. To find out how to get one of these, just Google USI and the website will show you what to do. A lot of schools these days are certainly encouraging their students from their end as well. So let's talk about applying. Applications, as I said, are already open for New South Wales and ACT students. On that application, of course, you will need your UAC PIN, which you should already have, and you'll use your NESA student number. For interstate students, it will just be your interstate student number, and your PIN would be the first 4 digits of your date of birth. On your application, you can list up to 5 preferences at any one time. Now, of course, when the university applications opened, so did our access scheme applications, which I'm going to talk about now. So the Educational Access Scheme is the first one I'd like to tell you about, and this is for students who have suffered some form of disadvantage through years 11 and or 12 that has been beyond their control. With this particular scheme, it must have been long-term, so at least 6 months or longer. With these disadvantages, there are about 8 categories and about 27 different disadvantages under these 8 categories. And they go from anything from long-term financial to, of course, long-term medical or disability, and many categories in between. With this particular application, students will need to provide supporting documentation, and these could be things like a medical impact statement, an educational impact statement, which should come from your school, an applicant statement. But the information on the UAC website about the Educational Access Scheme does tell you what it is that you will need to supply. Now, what does this application do for students? It is a special consideration type of application where, if made eligible for consideration, will then give you some adjustment points which will then increase your selection rank. And that selection rank is the things that the universities are using to, of course, select students on. The next access application is the school's recommendation schemes, and this is about early entry. Now, there are a number of universities involved in this particular application, but it is only one application through UAC, which is due by the 19th of September. It is open to all Year 12 students, domestic, not international, but all domestic Year 12 students across the country. But of course, not all courses are available through this scheme. So your high profile courses, such as med or some law or physiotherapy courses, may not be included. So it's about getting onto the university website and having a look to see what courses are on offer through this scheme. For the majority of eligibility, it's based on your Year 11 results and the school's recommendation, but other universities such as UNSW certainly have additional selection criteria, and it's usually to do with being part of the gateway school or being identified as low socioeconomic. So please keep that in mind. With these particular application, as I said, it closes on the 19th of September, and of course offers will go out on the 12th of November, which is a few months later. On the 12th of November, you can get, of course, one unconditional offer, but you may get several conditional offers, and those conditional offers would not be made unconditional till later on in the admissions cycle, and usually after the ATAR has been released. Of course, there is more information about SRS on the UAC website. The last application I'm going to talk to you about is equity scholarships, and this is a financial assistance for students, of course, who need extra money to be at university or help them get through those studies. In many cases, the universities are looking at students who have some kind of financial disadvantage and are on Centrelink benefits of some sort. But there are other disadvantages that universities are considering. Similar to that of what you would see in the educational access schemes, but this is asking about how will these disadvantages affect you going forward, whereas EAS is about how it has affected you up until this point. So be aware that the documents that you will need to supply for those disadvantages may be slightly different. These particular applications are not just for Year 12 students, so at the end of Year 12, if this is not you, then that's okay. There are many, many, many other scholarships that UNSW are going to talk to you about this evening, and I hope that you apply for all of them. But if later on down the track you're in, let's say, second or third year of uni, you can certainly apply again through UAC for an equity scholarship. The next stage of applications I'd like to talk about is managing that application. We're going to talk about the selection rank, which is used by, of course, universities to select students, adjustment factors, these are the things that will alter your selection rank, and of course preferences, which must be, of course, in order of your preference. To start with, let's look at the selection rank. Now, the selection rank for some students is just the ATAR. For other students, it could be ATAR plus adjustment points. Other students, it may be ATAR, adjustments, and additional selection criteria. Now, each of these adjustments, like ATAR, adjustment factors, or selection, the additional selection criteria, is broken down made into some kind of number. All those numbers are added together, then gives you a selection rank for that particular course at that particular university. So quite easy to understand. But what are adjustment points or adjustment factors? So adjustment factors, of course, there's 4 types. The first one is subject adjustments. And that is that you have completed an HSC course where you have achieved high marks, so a band 5 or 6, and that particular course relates to the university degree that you're wanting to get into. Typically something like mathematics advanced, and you're wanting to get into engineering. There's a relationship between those. So, subject adjustments. The next one is location adjustments, and this would be that you live within the catchment of a university, but not all universities give these. So once again, it's something you would need to research to find out if this is applicable to you. So for subject adjustment and location adjustment, these are automatic. You don't have to apply for these. It's just that once you have a preference on your UAC application, our system will recognise that and put those adjustments on your behalf. You can, as a student, of course, research both of these adjustments on the university websites. The third one is equity adjustments, and this is about educational access. Now, these adjustments, of course, you need to, of course, apply for. The other is elite athlete and performer adjustments, and you would certainly apply for these as well directly with the institution. Right, so let's talk about change of preference. Change of preference when if you're a student who received an offer in November for schools recommendation schemes, great, good on you. We would certainly say accept that offer because there's no guarantee of another one. But if you want to be considered again for another course based on your ATAR, then what we would say is certainly check the course lowest selection rank. This is the best guide to help you make some decisions about what you're going to place on that application. The next thing you need to do is be realistic. When you get your ATAR, if it's, let's say, in the low 70s, please don't have 5 preferences on your application that are in the high 90s, because you're not going to get that amount of adjustments that will give you a high enough selection rank for those types of courses. However, we would say if you've got a dream course, please place it as your first preference. Keep it there no matter what, because you just don't know what will happen at the end of the day. Then be realistic about what's on that application. And of course, you need to also monitor the preference closing dates, because we do have closing dates for preferences, and you will be able to see these on the UAC website. The next thing I'd like to talk about is accepting your offers. So as I said before, if you get an offer in November, accept it, then go in and remove that offer from your preference list if you want to be considered again. But of course, accept your offer because there is no guarantee of another one later on. Also, if you want to change your preferences, make sure you look at those change of preference closing dates and get them in order for that next round of offers. And of course, once you get an offer, then you're certainly following the instructions of the university as to whether you're going to enrol or defer or so on. So once again, it's about making sure that you meet the deadlines for applications, putting your offers or your preferences in order of how you wish to be selected, and of course, making sure that you are following any deadline as you go forward. I think that's about it from me, other than please connect with us through our social media channels. We are always giving updates on what's happening next so that we can keep you abreast of anything going forward. And thank you very much for having me today, and I hope that you have a very successful Year 12 year.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for having me tonight. My name is Ashley and I'm from the Access and Equity team here at UNSW. I'm very excited to be joining you tonight to give you a really brief overview of the Gateway Admissions pathway. At UNSW, we're committed to making sure as many high school leavers as possible are able to come to university next year. So we understand that sometimes feeling like the ATAR requirements for university degrees are impossibly high is really common. We also know that the ATAR doesn't really reflect the full story of what we're all capable of. So we're interested in finding out a little bit more about you as an individual, your learning strengths, your interests and passions, and what you really get excited about. And most importantly, how that connects to your future study goals. So the Gateway Admission pathway at UNSW provides all successful applicants with an early conditional offer to UNSW with a lower ATAR requirement than the guaranteed entry rank listed on the UNSW Undergraduate Guide. Once you've gone through the HSE, you've studied really hard, you've finished, if you then meet that adjusted ATAR requirement, you will guarantee your position into UNSW. So it recognises that there's more to you than your ATAR. And also, applications are open now, which is fantastic. Even better news is that there's a couple more months for you to get those applications in. As Trudy mentioned earlier, they will close on the 19th of September, so please ensure you have your applications in on time. You also will need to apply through the UAC Schools Recommendation Scheme for the Gateway Admission pathway. So before I jump into a little bit more detail about the Gateway Admission pathway, let's talk about how the eligibility works for this process. So you're all Year 12 students, and most of you will be receiving an ATAR this year, which is wonderful. You also need to either be from a gateway school with UNSW or eligible for the UAC Educational Access Scheme based on your home address being in the bottom 25% of the socioeconomic indexes for areas, or CEFA for short. So if you're not sure if you're a gateway school, we've got a QR code there up on the slides. You can use that QR code to check the gateway schools list and see if you're attending a gateway school. If you are not attending a gateway school, you can still meet the UAC criteria for the Educational Access Scheme. You'll be sent an email after you submit your UAC application to notify you of whether you're eligible for this and therefore for the Gateway Admission pathway. So the most common feature of the gateway admission pathway is that adjusted ATAR. So the adjusted ATARs are up to 15 points below the guaranteed entry rank advertised in the UNSW 2022 Undergraduate Guide. We've put a QR code up for you there. You can use that to have a little look at the adjusted ATAR requirements for all of the UNSW courses. 15 points below the guaranteed entry is incredible. As an example, the Bachelor of Engineering, for the guaranteed entry ATAR, you'll be required 93. Through the gateway admission pathway, you'll now have an adjusted ATAR of 81. That means that you can go into your HSC with the peace of mind knowing that you would not need to receive a 93, you'll only need to receive an 81 to meet the ATAR requirements of that offer, which is incredible. So that's a really good benefit of applying through the gateway admission pathway. Another point is if you do reach that ATAR requirement, the adjusted ATAR requirements for your selected offer, that guarantees you a place at UNSW. Another benefit is that you'll be prioritised for a UNSW Equity Scholarship. So if you meet the eligibility criteria for the UX Educational Access Scheme, based on the CEFA criteria we mentioned earlier, you'll be prioritised for awards of up to $5,000 to $10,000 per year for the duration of your degree, or accommodation scholarships valued at $24,000 per year. As mentioned earlier, there's no additional application process required. Once you submit your UAC undergraduate application, you'll then be notified if you meet the eligibility criteria for the UX Educational Access Scheme. Being a student from Riverina myself, I used to call Wagga Wagga home. I did move to university in Sydney, so it was a big relocation, and having that knowledge that these scholarships are even available to us is absolutely incredible. And those scholarships can be really, really helpful in relocating from home to on campus as well. So at UNSW, all undergraduate courses are available, except for the UNSW Prep program and the UNSW Co-op programs. There are a few degrees that we need to take note of because there is a few different eligibility criteria, as well as a slightly different application process for some of these. So for example, the Bachelor of the Medical Studies / Doctor of Medicine, you will need to apply through a different portal. This is the Medicine Application Portal, or MAP for short. And please note that there is a slightly different eligibility criteria for this degree. There is also the Bachelor of Aviation, Flying. This will also include additional eligibility criteria for final entry to this program. It is also worth noting that there is considerable costs associated with this degree that you'll need to consider when you're undertaking this degree. Lastly, the Bachelor of Vision Science or / Master of Clinical Optometry. This will prioritise regional and remote applicants, which is wonderful. However, you do need to realise that only less than 10 offers are made for this course, so please keep that in mind. It's incredibly popular. So when it comes to assessing your application, as I said earlier, we know that you are so much more than your ATAR marks. So we do assess a few other different documents as well with your application. So your personal statement is the main one with answers to 3 questions all about you. Another one is a portfolio of work that you may be required to submit as well. So your personal statement, you'll answer 3 questions, 200 to 250 words each, that are really specific to you. So it'll start to draw out your interests and passions and let us know what type of university student and what your future study goals are. To help you create that winning personal statement for your application, we do have a resource called the Nail It web app at UNSW, which will guide you through answering each of these questions. Now, back to the portfolio. Not everyone will need to submit a portfolio for their degree. If you select to study any of the degrees that are up on the slides, within the Faculty of Arts, Design and Architecture, you will be required to submit a visual portfolio that showcases your creative design skills. So please keep in mind that is not all courses that will require a portfolio. For both your personal statement and your portfolio, you'll need to upload these through UAC as institution-specific documents. The last few documents that we assess, you will not need to worry about uploading. These are through, UAC will access these directly through your school, and as Trudy mentioned earlier, it's your Year 11 results, and also includes your school's ratings of aptitudes and your performance of relevant subjects to your chosen degree. So, as I mentioned, applications are open. You still have till the 19th of September to apply if you haven't already considered so. Please don't miss that date, 19th of September, the applications will close. After applying, you'll need to consider a few other dates. The 12th of November, you'll be notified if you're successful in receiving your early conditional offer. And then on the 20th of December, if you meet your adjusted ATAR requirement for your chosen degree, you'll be notified of your firm offer to UNSW. Now, if we have a few students here that are registered for the Gateway Winter Program, which is running for the next 2 weeks, please be reminded that there is an additional session next Tuesday on the 22nd of June, 6 till 7 p.m. that will give you more details about the application process and what's required for your portfolio. If you are not registered with the Gateway Winter Program, stay connected with us. We have a wonderful team of staff currently monitoring our emails, so you can email us at unswgateway@unsw.edu.au. We'll endeavour to answer all of your questions that come through around the application process and the portfolio if you require it. You can also check out our website to see more details and frequently asked questions. So thank you for your time tonight. We wish you all the best for your HSC and your applications. I'm now going to pass over to the student panel. They're going to share some of their wonderful experiences about how to choose a degree at university and also that big transition from high school through to university, as we know it's quite a big jump. So thank you so much for your time and all the best.
Hello and welcome to tonight's student panel. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a great lineup for you tonight. We're joined by 3 UNSW students, Michael, Vishal, and Leonie, and tonight we'll be talking to you about things like accommodation, scholarships, and student life. So let's jump into it. Starting with you, Leonie, could you tell us a little bit about double degrees at UNSW? What made you want to do a double degree?
Yeah, sure. So I do a double degree in bioinformatics engineering and science majoring in statistics. And I personally chose that double degree because those 2 degrees really complemented each other. So having that focus on statistics really helped me deep dive into that area. But yeah, some other people do double degrees for other reasons. So other people might do double degrees because one is for sort of the direction that they want to go with their career and one is for their passions. And yeah, I think double degrees really just help you sort of maximize your knowledge in a particular area and really show employers that you have capabilities in 2 different areas.
Fantastic. And can you tell us a little bit about how they work? Does it mean you're studying for twice as long?
It definitely doesn't mean that you're studying for twice as long. Basically, how double degrees work is that they take the elective space in one degree and use it to fill the core courses of the other degree. So for example, my engineering degree would be 4 years on its own and my science degree would be 3 years on its own. But together, as a double degree, they're not 7 years, they're actually 5 years. So you're not studying twice as long, you're not studying twice as hard, you're still doing the same course load over the year. Yeah.
Fantastic. And now opening it up to the panel at large, we have some students tuning in tonight that might not be from Sydney and might need to move to be able to attend UNSW. Can you talk us through what it was like for you deciding to move out of home or stay at home? What was that decision process and what factors did you consider? Starting with you, Michael.
So I live quite close to the university in Redfern. So for me, it was a decision between USyd and UNSW. Ultimately, I chose UNSW because I did a bit of research and realized that for the degree I wanted to do, which was chemical engineering, it was by far and away the better university. So yeah, that was my decision. And the transport there is quite easy.
Great. Over to you, Vishal.
Well, I live in southwestern Sydney, and the most proximate uni to where I am would actually be something like WSU, but I chose UNSW nonetheless, partly because I've been used to commuting into the city for a while, and the public transport options are, quite good now, especially with the installation of the light rail. But I do know people from Western Sydney and from the areas that I'm from that have chosen to move in very close to Randwick or Kensington. And they've chosen to do that because they just simply want to free up a little bit more time and get a little bit of independence. So ultimately, the choice, even if you're living in Western Sydney, is really up to you. There's plenty of options available. But for me personally, I think I'm fine with doing the commute.
Yeah, I am actually from Canberra, so I did move to Sydney for university, and so I was staying in student accommodation for the first couple of years. And yeah, so I did choose to move to Sydney, partially for that independence, and also sort of to maximize on that sort of university experience, because staying on student accommodation is really sort of a great way to get involved with uni life. Especially in the sort of colleges that we have in student accommodation, you're really surrounded by a really good community of people who are also starting university. So it's a great way to make friends. And yeah, the 5-minute commute to class is really good.
And Leonie, jumping a little bit into that a bit more, can you tell us what was it like choosing the college? Was it a hard decision, or did it really appeal to you?
Oh, it definitely really appealed to me. I think sort of having that support system with you so that you're not completely diving into things like rental agreements or, bills and everything, and being able to have that sort of community of people that sort of made choosing a college really easy. Yeah.
Great, thank you. That was such a nice range of perspectives and the different options that students have when choosing accommodation. Moving to you, Vishal, could you tell us a little bit about what scholarships are like at UNSW? I know you're a scholarship recipient, and it would be great to hear what that application process was like when you went through it.
Yeah, well, when I think about scholarships, the first thing to think about is the fact that the uni awards over $80 million in scholarships every year. And a lot of the scholarship money that's actually available ends up going unawarded simply because people don't apply. People think that, oh, I'm not good enough, or I don't have the merit, or I don't have the reason, they're not going to consider my application worthy. But the key message is to just always apply regardless. With me personally, apart from the co-op scholarship, I had never really heard of many of the uni scholarships, and it had never really crossed my mind to apply for something. And then I was encouraged by my sister, who had studied at UNSW, to just have a look at the scholarships website and to just think about any options that might be available. And the great thing about the scholarships portal is that once you fill out your information and put in things like your detail, your background, any transcripts from high school, all of that information gets stored on the database, and you can transfer it between applications. So it ends up becoming really easy to apply for multiple scholarships. And I had a look, and I found a couple that were relevant, and I applied, and very fortunately I was granted one of them. I think that scholarships cover a whole range of circumstances. So they're not just about things like academic excellence or leadership excellence at high school. They also cover equitable learning outcomes, trying to assist people who have certain circumstances in their life that have made it a bit more difficult to study, and trying to alleviate some of those burdens. And there's scholarships for a whole range of purposes, things like travel, for instance. The New Colombo Plan Scholarship is one example. And on top of that, it's really important to remember that even after you enter university, there are always scholarship opportunities opening up around you. So it's not just for high school students who are coming in, it's also for students who are moving through their degree and who may come across opportunities that are available to them. So I think that the application process, it was surprising for me. It was surprising in terms of how fluid and quick it was. And it was also surprising just the range of scholarships that are available. And I would really encourage anyone to sort of have a look at the scholarships website, and to just not have any preconceptions or assumptions that you're not going to be a good fit for one of them. You never know where it's going to take you. And in terms of my life, it's had a very substantial impact on my life, the scholarship and the extra financial support that it has provided.
Thanks, Rochelle. I think there's some really fantastic advice for students in there about, giving an application a go no matter what, and that there's some easy processes built into it as well. So, Michael, I want to talk to you a little bit about your journey to your degree. I know that you had some changes about what you wanted to study, and I think that there might be some students tuning in tonight that are concerned that if they pick a degree, they're perhaps stuck with it and it might not be exactly what they want to do. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you ended up with your degree ultimately?
Yeah, sure. So the process for transferring between degrees at UNSW is called internal program transfer, or IPT. And I actually did it twice during my career at UNSW, eventually landing up in the degree I'm currently in. So originally I was doing a degree in engineering and commerce. I wasn't really sure what form of engineering I wanted to do, so I was in the flexible first year stream for engineering. And within commerce, I hadn't done many commerce subjects at high school, but it was definitely an area I was interested in, and I wanted to explore my interest in commerce a little bit more. So during my first year, I explored my interest in various subjects and various areas of engineering. And with the flexible first year stream, you really do get to go through a few key courses and then do a few electives as well. And by the end of the year, I knew that I was definitely interested in chemical engineering. During my second year, I did a couple commerce courses and I realized that it wasn't really the thing for me. So I used internal program transfer to transfer out of a double degree in chemical engineering and commerce into chemical engineering and biotechnology. And then the next year, I realized that biotechnology also maybe not exactly the thing for me. I'd also, through UNSW, actually gotten a couple very interesting internships, and I realized that I wanted to move into industry as quickly as possible. So I went into just a single degree in chemical engineering, and I'm really looking forward to graduating pretty soon and getting to use my knowledge in the real world.
It's great to hear how that journey has played out for you, but that you've ultimately come to a degree that you're happy with and it is a good fit for you. You mentioned internships in your answer. Could you tell us a little bit about what those internships were?
Yeah, so the first thing I did was last summer, I did an internship at Hawkesbury City Council in wastewater engineering. It was very, very interesting, and I actually found it through UNSW. Somebody sent the email through. The careers advisor for engineering, for chemical engineering, sent the email through, and then I applied, and it was a really, really valuable experience. Also, because of UNSW's trimester system, I got to do a few extra courses earlier on in my degree, which meant I had space to take off a whole term in the third year of my degree, so I could take off that entire term and just focus on the internship, and that didn't actually extend my degree at all, so I'm still graduating on time.
Awesome. Well, it's great that you've told us a bit about internships, and I want to talk a little bit about student life overall at UNSW. Leonie, could you tell us what kind of clubs or societies you're involved in, or what learning do you do outside of the classroom?
Yeah, sure. So I also did industrial training like Michael did, and that was a great experience to sort of learn outside of the classroom. But yeah, there are so many different clubs and societies at UNSW. So you have your sort of faculty societies, like the Engineering Society or the Business Society, that sort of help you meet other people in your degree, and they run things like networking events and mentoring. But yeah, you do also have those clubs and that are sort of more for niche interests. So you have the Dog Society, the Chocolate Society, and so many more. I'm personally part of a society called RoboGirls. So it's a sort of not-for-profit chapter, and we go out to schools to run workshops for girls in primary school and high school to really get them sort of interested in STEM subjects. So that's an experience that's been really good for me to sort of get involved outside of the classroom. Yeah.
Great. And Michael, is there some clubs and societies you're involved in as well?
Yeah, so I've been involved for a few years now in the Undergraduate Society for Chemical Engineering. As well as that, I was involved in Engineers Without Borders UNSW, which was a really great opportunity to experience that sort of humanitarian engineering side. Through both of those societies, I've been able to meet people who were like-minded, who shared the same interests as me, and meet them both socially at events like balls and cruises, and also meet them during industry events, and meet people like UNSW alumni who are also interested in those same areas. It's been a really great opportunity to build my network, especially with people who are interested in specific areas that I am.
So much going on campus. It's really exciting to hear all the things that you are all involved in. I think we've had a great chat today about accommodations, scholarships, student life, but I do want to close out today's panel with one final question. We are talking to students who are thinking about university, and they might have some things that they're nervous or concerned about. So could you think back to when you were in year 12? What advice would you give to somebody who's in year 12 now about making the decision to come to university? And I think we'll start with you, Vishal.
Well, I think the key thing to remember is that when you're starting university, it's not really a massive commitment in terms of who you want to be as a person. You're not locking yourself into anything. Coming into university with an open mind and to an extent an open heart as well is really important. And I think that you're going to be challenged in terms of the way you think, and you're going to learn new things about yourself. That's just kind of default as part of the experience. And I would always encourage people to come to university with a sense of curiosity and exploration, and not feeling the sort of social stigma of having to have a life path planned out straight away. Especially with things like the HSC and ATARs, there's a sense of finality or conclusion at the end of year 12. You have graduation ceremonies, you think, okay, now I'm moving into something that I've locked myself into and a stage of my life where I can never change anything about myself. But that's not true. You'll end up growing a lot through university. You'll end up challenging yourself and changing in ways that you probably can't really imagine right now. So just come in with a completely open mind and be as relaxed as you can and understand that everyone is going through a very similar experience in your cohort.
Thank you. Over to you, Leonie.
Yeah, I mean, I have to completely agree with what Vishal has said very well. But yeah, so I definitely in year 12 thought that, had a bit of the impression that what the degree that I chose initially was the degree that I was locked into, and that was the career that I was going to be locked into. But university is just a really great place to really explore what you're passionate about. And yeah, just sort of get fully immersed in university life, because the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. And there's just so much going on that it could be really valuable to you.
Thank you. And ending with you, Michael.
I'd say that a lot of people focus, especially in year 12, I remember I focused a lot on university rankings as determining which university I should go to. And while UNSW does do well in many of the rankings, I'd say it's not the main thing to focus on. I'd say it's really good to research your university, research what sort of extracurricular opportunities are there, projects, any academics you're interested in who work at the university and what they might be studying, because you might be able to work with them for your thesis in a few years' time, and also to come to the university open days and info days so you can have a look around the campus and really get a feel for the culture and layout of the university. I think that's the best way to make your decision.
Great, all good advice. Thank you so much tonight to our three panelists. I hope everybody tuning in has gotten some really good perspectives and advice. And a big thank you to all of you taking the time to see tonight's panel. And we look forward to having you at UNSW.
Hello everyone and welcome back. So we're at the end of our evening now, and the exciting time that I get to spend with you all answering the fantastic questions that you've all sent through. So thank you to everyone who has sent questions through, and please do continue sending your questions through. We've got about 10 minutes of question and answer time now. So I'm going to get right into it. The first question is, how can we apply through scholarships and early entry? How can we apply for scholarships and early entry through the Gateway program? So of course that is open to any students that are eligible for our UNSW Gateway scheme, and you can find the details and apply on the UNSW Gateway website. We've also got another question here asking how to apply and find a scholarship in general if you're not a Gateway student. So UNSW has a really fantastic scholarships website that includes all of our scholarships, including our Gateway and non-Gateway scholarships. So you can head to UNSW scholarships, pop it in Google, or scholarships.unsw.edu.au. We always say that it's a little bit like online shopping. You can go through and select all your filters to select the scholarships that would be applicable to you, and then you're able to have a full list of everything that you might be eligible for. I often get asked, what tips do you have for applying for a scholarship? And my number one tip is to apply in the first place. So many students don't think that they would be eligible for a scholarship, so they don't apply. So I'd really, really recommend that you go in and apply, and then just let your own personality shine through your scholarship application. So I've got a few other great ones here. What is the difference with UNSW terms to other universities which may do semesters? And that's a really great question. So at UNSW, we have an academic calendar that we call UNSW 3+. So that means you're able to study across 3 terms across the year. So term 1, which begins in February. Term 2 begins at the end of May or at the beginning of June, depending on the year. And then term 3 will begin in September. And that really allows you to plan out your study for the whole year and balance your study around your life. So you might want to take a smaller study load in one of the terms, so you could take 2 subjects as opposed to 3 in one of the terms, so you can do something like an internship, or maybe you have outside of university commitments. You can also align your study much easier to Northern Hemisphere universities if you're wanting to go on exchange. Of course, when the time's right, we're really excited for our students to be able to go on exchange again. I've got another one here. Do adjustment factors apply to medicine? So only EAS adjustment factors, so the Educational Access Scheme adjustment factors, will apply to medicine. I don't know what to study at uni. Do I have to choose a major straight away? Don't panic if you don't know what to study. You are not alone. Many of our students come to university and decide that in their first year they're going to really try out all of the different areas. And of course, there's a number of programs that allow you to do that, including the Bachelor of Engineering, Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Commerce, Bachelor of Arts. A lot of our programs will have a first year that allows you to try lots of different areas of the discipline, and then you can choose to major or minor or specialise in your second, third, fourth years. Great question here from Xavier. Can double degree students go on exchange? Yes, absolutely. Many of our double degree students do go on exchange. And can they study a language diploma? Yes, you can. You can also choose to study a language degree as a part of your degrees. If you're thinking of doing a double degree, maybe you're thinking of doing law, for example, and you would also like to study Korean language, you could do the language diploma, or you could also do a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of International Studies and do a language minor as a part of that degree. You're also able to use some electives in your degree. So at university, you may have subjects which are called elective subjects, where you can kind of choose from a wide range of university subjects. So you can take elective subjects in languages as well, but of course that would only be that one subject, so you'd only be studying the language for that one term. Indigo has asked, is a resume of any importance in applying for a UNSW scholarship? It really depends on your scholarship. So your scholarship, when you go on the scholarship website, you'll see that they'll have many different application criteria, and some of them will include a resume, some of them will include a personal statement, some of them will even ask you to submit a video of yourself. So it depends on your scholarship that you're applying for. I would say to ensure that you cover any relevant work experience that you've done, or also any volunteering experience that you've done as well in your scholarship application. Is there a limit to how many scholarships a person can get? You can hold multiple scholarships. It really depends on the scholarship type. So some scholarships, there are some that you can only have that scholarship, but there are many scholarships that you can have as many scholarships as you're awarded. So that is definitely a yes to that one. I should have done my homework. But does UNSW offer secondary teaching? Well, you might have to get used to homework, because yes, we absolutely do offer secondary teaching at UNSW. You can do it as a double degree with another area as well, which allows you to pick up your teaching area. So maybe you wanted to be a physics teacher, then you could do the Bachelor of Secondary Education with the Bachelor of Science. Or, you know, if you wanted to be a business teacher, you could do your Bachelor of Education with a Bachelor of Commerce. It really depends, and there's lots of different options. I'd really encourage you to head online to our UNSW degree finder to see the full list of double degree options. Will there be a recording available for this seminar? Yes, absolutely. If you want to watch this every night up until your HSC, you can. There'll be a recording available that will be sent to your email address, and you'll also be able to find this on YouTube after. What is the chemical engineering degree like? Are there many females in this degree? So UNSW actually has the highest ratio of females studying engineering in the whole country in Australia. So we do have a really diverse cohort. So you won't be alone. There are many females in our classes. So in chemical engineering, you'll be learning a lot of chemistry, of course, maths and physics. And then you'll have a lot of general knowledge about engineering as well, all in your first year. And then in later years, it'll focus more on chemical product development, minerals and pharmaceuticals. So if you are interested in chemical engineering, or if you want to find out more in detail about any of our UNSW degrees, I'd really encourage you to come along to our UNSW Open Day. So that it was on the 4th of September. And we'll have representatives from all of our degrees at UNSW. We'll also have a whole heap of current students, so you can ask them exactly what it's like to study that certain degree. Are we eligible to get more than one early entry offer from UNSW, but for different degrees? So that's a complicated question, but you can get many different offers in different UAC rounds. So it really depends on when you're putting your offers in for your UAC rounds. So make sure you have your preferences up to date and make sure you list the degree that you want the most, your first preference, right to the top of your list. If you do have any further questions about preferencing and your offers, you can get in touch with our UNSW inquiries team as well. Another one, is there separate applications for the course, accommodation and scholarships, or can you apply for all of them in one simple application? So there are separate applications. So course applications, of course, for domestic students are through the university's admission centre. UAC scholarship applications you can apply through our UNSW scholarships website, and accommodation applications will be through UNSW accommodation as well. Oh, great questions coming through. Thank you so much to everyone that's sending some questions through. So a great one, when is Open Day? Is there a specific Open Day for science? So Open Day is the 4th of September. That's a Saturday. Mark it in your calendars now. There's not a specific day for science, but there's a specific zone for science. And there'll be a specific zone for all of our study areas on campus. So registrations for Open Day will be opening shortly. So make sure you've subscribed to our mailing list so you can get in and book your tickets and select the zones that you want to go to as early as possible. How do majors, minors and electives work? No one has explained that so far in the unis that have come to my school. Well, Anonymous, we are about to explain that for you. So it is complex, and it's something that can be really tricky if you are outside of university to understand majors, minors and electives. So lots of degrees will give you the option to choose a major area of study. Basically, this means the area that you specialize in. So for example, if you wanted to study a Bachelor of Commerce and you want to become an accountant, you would choose a Bachelor of Commerce, and then after your first year you could choose to major in accounting. So that's your major. Generally it's about 8 units of study, 8 courses, so 8 different subjects that you would study in your time as a part of that degree to give you a full major. So in some degrees, you can choose to do 2 majors, or you can choose to do a major and you can choose to do some minor study areas. So that's kind of a major, but a bit smaller. So it doesn't go into as much depth. So a minor is generally about 4 courses or 4 subjects, and you could choose to do a minor that is related to your major. So say you want to do a Bachelor of Commerce, major in accounting, and maybe you'd like to minor in business analytics, or you can choose to do a minor in an area that is totally different. So maybe you do a minor in marketing. To confuse you, there's lots of degrees that actually offer 2 majors. So you could choose to do a Bachelor of Commerce majoring in accounting and majoring in finance if you wanted as well. So that's majors and minors, and then elective subjects are subjects that are kind of like free subjects, or at school you might have a free period. So an elective subject is a subject that you can choose that's not necessarily related to your degree, or is slightly related to your degree but not a requirement for your major. So you might choose to do, in your Bachelor of Commerce, majoring in accounting, you're going to do a minor in marketing, and then you have 4 elective subjects left over. You might choose to take some elective subjects in human resource management, international business and taxation, because you really want to get your taxes in on June 30. This sounds a little bit complicated now. Please don't stress about it too much. You're able to come in and plan your study prior to starting university, or even in your first few weeks of university as well. So there's plenty of tools and plenty of options and help to plan your study, plan your majors, minors, electives, and also you're not locked into it. So you can often start your degree and start in a certain major or with a certain idea of what you might do as electives and minors. And you can change as you go along. So you can definitely, as you grow and learn more about the study area, you can definitely go down different paths if you'd like. When do most scholarships for 2022 open? Generally they'll open in July, but there might be some open now. Again, it's dependent on your scholarship, and generally they'll close towards the end of September. So do make sure you head online and have a look at those scholarships as soon as possible. For each degree, does the guaranteed entry mark refer to the ATAR or the selection rank? So in 2022, UNSW won't have a guaranteed entry. We would really encourage you to look at the lowest selection rank as an indication of where the course might sit. So the lowest selection rank is of course an ATAR and any adjustment factors that have been added into someone's ATAR. So we'd definitely have a look and you will be able to see if you're going to be competitive for a degree. Hi, I'm from Melbourne. Hello, from Melbourne. I want to get into med, and are there any options for scholarships offers for interstate students to apply for medicine? So as long as you're a domestic student, so you're an Australian citizen or permanent resident, then there will be the exact same application process. So we don't have certain spots that are just for New South Wales students or just for Queensland students or just for Melbourne students. They're open to all Australian students. Scholarships are exactly the same as well, so do have a look online. Will I be able to study medicine as well as a language, or is that not recommended? There are definitely options. So we actually have a combined Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Arts. So like I mentioned earlier, you could take a language major in your Bachelor of Arts. You could definitely do that. So you can also do some general electives in medicine in languages as well. And what exactly is the prep program and what courses is it offered to? So UNSW prep program is offered to students who might need to take some studies as a bridging program to get into UNSW. It's offered for a range of our courses, but I would encourage you to head online to have a look at exactly which courses you want to get into and which courses the prep program is offered to. Finally, I've got one last question here. Can I get an internship while I'm studying? Absolutely, yes you can. UNSW has a dedicated employment office that will help you write resumes, may help you do internship applications. We also have jobs boards, and then within certain faculties, they also have many, many internship programs. So there are definitely lots of work integrated learning opportunities to help make you the most employable graduates in Australia. Guys, that's where we're going to have to end it tonight. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for your fantastic questions. Thank you to all of the parents who are on the line. I know that there's a few of you on the line as well, so thank you for the support that you're giving your students. I really, really hope to see you all at our UNSW Open Day on the 7th, on the 4th of September. We won't be here on the 7th. And have a great night. Thank you.
You're the person the world needs. You may not know how or why yet, but you know you're here to make a difference. Few people have great ideas. Even fewer make them happen. It takes a dreamer, a researcher, a leader, a thinker. It takes someone like you.